Well, the next US Democratic debate has all but been confirmed to be a showdown between Senator Bernie Sanders and former Vice President Joe Biden. The pair make up the final three candidates after Senator Elizabeth Warren dropped out of the race. To discuss this, I'm now joined by presidential appointee and press officer to a former First Lady, Barbara Heineback. Barbara, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, how are you today?
Thank you. Firstly, was it a surprise at all that Elizabeth Warren dropped out over the week?
It was a surprise to me, yes. I thought she was going to try to hang in there longer, and she was waiting to take it to convention in July, whether it would have been a broker convention or what. I think one of the main takeaways of the week was being able to watch how gracefully both Pete Buttigieg and also Amy Klobuchar, they dropped out, immediately gave their support, put their support behind Joe Biden. When she dropped out after Tuesday, she still has not, when I say she, Liz Warren, she has not supported Bernie Sanders, which is what one would have expected since they're both more the progressive and social, the socialists. They call themselves democratic socialists, but it's not quite as they make it out to be. Irrespective of that, she has not supported anyone else. So you have to ask, it begs the question, who does Liz Warren really support? Is it only Liz Warren? We have to remember a little bit about her history. Is she thinking about the party, or is she just thinking about herself? Even if she were to throw her support to Joe Biden at this point, which would be to support the party, it would be it wouldn't make that much of a difference. Whomever she supports now is not going to matter, because when she could have given that support to Sanders, I think both California and Texas might have been, the top of that ticket would have gone the other way. It would have been Bernie Joe instead of Joe getting the most points and then Bernie. We'll see how well Joe, it'll be interesting to see how well Joe Biden does in the rest of the country. The country gained about a third of the overall points just during Super Tuesday this past week. And now we'll see how it goes going forward. And also, if it becomes Joe and if his issues with memory continue to be a problem, that was the other kind of big takeaway for me. I know Joe Biden has had a history of making a faux pas here and there, but the egregious mistakes that he made time and time again, just in the last 10 days or so, he was introduced. He was doing an interview with Chris Wallace the other day, and at the end of that interview, he said, "Thanks, Chuck, for having me on." Well, it was Chris Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
When he was running, he introduced himself as saying that was running for the Senate instead of the presidency.
Yes, I mean, he has made quite a few errors this week, and that's been something we've been reporting on too. But he did poll very strong during Super Tuesday, which did come as quite a surprise to a lot of people. But why do you think that Joe Biden fared so well?
He fared so well because of what we all expected, and that was that he is so well liked among Black Americans, particularly in the South. Now, what is also interesting about that, there's a new dynamic in play there, because whereas Southern Blacks have almost exclusively 95% probably gone in favor of the Democratic ticket, and they especially like Joe Biden because he was right by Barack Obama's side all the way. The older Black Americans voted for Joe Biden in those southern states. However, the younger Blacks and those who are college students, they are beginning to divide their votes between either a Bernie Sanders or another Democrat, someone more progressive possibly, and also giving votes to Donald Trump, to the Republican ticket, because they are looking at job creations and other opportunities like that. So there's a generational divide that's going on. But clearly Joe Biden has voted very well in the Southeast, and we'll see how well he does going, throughout the rest of the country.
Absolutely, they'll be certainly watching that closely. Barbara, given the Democratic dropouts that we have seen this week, what sort of a position does this put Donald Trump in now?
First, I think he was all set to go up against, Bernie Sanders. Now he's looking at a real competition. When I say real, Joe Biden is certainly going to bring along the moderate voters, as well as maybe pull the ticket back from being so far to the left, try to move it back toward center again. And a major interest to American voters is going to be who he selects, who Joe Biden, if he's to be the candidate, who he will select as a running mate, which I'd be real surprised if it wasn't a woman. And also, I think for Donald Trump, what he is going to have to be mindful of is how does he maintain or try to gather more strength and voters throughout that moderate independent voters, and even if he can pull some of the Democrats across, and it'll be on his record. Donald Trump's had a great track record in terms of job creation and the economy, having done so well, at least so well right up until, this virus, which is beyond all of our control, COVID-19. But Trump is going to have to change his game to some degree going forward in terms of, it'll be interesting. I'm almost fearful for Joe Biden debating Donald Trump if it comes to that. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be an interesting seesaw as we go ahead.
Well,
going further.
That's a very good way to describe it, an interesting seesaw. It's always fascinating to watch how these things play out. Barbara Heineback, appreciate your analysis. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, and happy International Women's Day, Danica.
Absolutely, and right back at you. Thank you, Barbara.